So if you go down to here, here's some of the numbers. Stellar institutional infrastructure for global settlement and tokenized assets. You got 17 stablecoins, 2.3 billion raw, and 352 million adjusted. And that's the average stablecoin volume in the last 12 months. That's a lot of volume. 53 million monthly RWA volume in the last 6 months. That's crazy as well. And then 67 RWA projects, 10 issuers, 52 million smart contracts, innocations. So that's the usage. So what makes Stellar's different? So again, the key findings at glance, you got the settlement efficiency, cheaper, faster, instant settlement, unlike Ethereum, okay? Institutional asset issuance, a lot of companies are already working with them, and then they're compliant, as I told you, when you're dealing with the Genius Act and the Clarity Act to come. So when you look at the strategic positioning in digital finance infrastructure, this is why Stellar is killing it. Settlement is a correspondent. That's a traditional system. It's correspondent banking. The blockchain equivalent is blockchain rails. That's Stellar. And Stellar's role is core settlement, 5 to 7 to add a block to the network. Seconds versus days. You ever send a wire transfer? Say wire transfer in chat if you don't like that. Expensive, slow. Then you got 4x routing. So they use the traditional system, interbank forex markets. Blockchains is the native DEX and automatic market makers. And then Stellar's role is the path payments, atomic multi-currency routing. Okay. And that's the infrastructure, again, of the blockchain. And when you go to compliance, you have banks level controls. Smart contracts can emulate what banks do. And then you have, as we mentioned, the compliance that the Genius Act requires. So for asset issuance, you got custodians, right? Like Templeton, Franklin Templeton. On the blockchain, you have tokenization. Stellar works with these companies. Treasury, that's cash. Blockchain is yield. The protocol, you have the T-bills, you have different DEXs, a lot of different integrations. And again, this report for us is to understand their thinking, okay? Put XLM and XRP in the chat. Appreciate y'all. So this understands who's supposed to be reading this. I'm reading this to you guys because I think this document here lets us know the positioning that they want the world in. If y'all been listening to Larry Finke talking about this stuff. So chief executive officers, business officers, CFOs, treasuries, risk managers, technical decision makers, okay? So when you go look at Stellar's multi-currency stablecoin ecosystem, this is the reason why they can work with these banks. You got USDC, which is the US dollar, the euro, and then these are the companies that issue it. Circle is the main one. PayPal USD, that's the Paxos, that's the dollar. Then you got the GYN, which is the GMO Trust issuer, which is the yen. You got the dollar here with the ZUSD. Then you got the Australian dollar, okay? Then you have the euro again in another form. You have the Swiss franc in the euro. You have impact stablecoin, and then regional corridors. So you got the United States dollar, you got the Japanese yen, you got the Australian dollar, you have the euro, you have the Swiss franc. Makes sense to me. They have the main currencies essentially that the Western world uses. And especially if you're doing humanitarian aid and whatnot, that's obviously what they're going to be sending them. And then USDC dominates. Okay. That's a dominating coin in that situation. So then we have 15% of stablecoin transfers volume adjusted. Volume is growing. And I want to get down to another important part here. Let's scroll down. Okay. The highlight. So MoneyGram. Okay. MoneyGram's integration with the Stellar network offers a crypto to cash solution across 170 companies. If you ever used MoneyGram back in the day, you know what MoneyGram is. They're working with Stellar. Then you have the PayPal USD. A lot of us use PayPal. I definitely use PayPal. I use Stripe stuff. I use Venmo. PayPal's decision to issue PayYUSD on Stellar is a notable institutional signal. PayPal does not deploy to blockchain networks without thorough technical security and compliance review. MoneyGram, PayPal, big financial companies. And then if you go to cost per transaction, this is the SWIFT banking system here. Okay, put XRP, XLM in the chat. So $15 to $50. I just talked to you about a wire transfer. Takes 2 to 5 days. You don't want to send it on a Friday. Okay. And Ethereum is 50 cents to $50. You don't know what's going to happen. It can even freeze if the network is too crowded. Solana, very cheap and very fast, but it does sometimes have failed transactions. The blockchain could be down at any damn time. Stellar's 0.003 for a smart contract in 5 seconds. Absolute. Makes sense. The better here would be obviously Stellar, and that's why they're pointing it out. Okay, so then as we dive deeper here, we go down. This is all great information. And I talked to you about compliance. Big banks, government, UN, they care about compliance and the technical infrastructure and the risk. So we don't have to go there. You know what that's about. They want to make sure, I'll just go through the top real quick. They want transparency and auditability. They want to see if you can audit. They want to know if you technically can work and if you can fight the things that they're against with, okay? Money laundering and all that type of stuff. So then you go to number 4. We have tokenized real world asset securities. And I know y'all have not seen this document. If you've seen this document, either way, put XLM in the chat. So you have the RWA landscape on Stellar. The tokenization of real-world asset represents the next generation for markets. Stellar has emerged as a leading chain for institutional-grade real-world asset tokenization. Okay. Again, I told you, you have the different products. This is the U.S. government money funds. You have treasury bills, hedge funds, tokenized securities, real estate, treasuries, gold, commodities, government bonds, private credit, corporate bonds, treasuries, all of this tokenized on Stellar Lumens. This is big. Everything Larry Fink said is going to happen has been happening so far. So then we'll scroll down towards the end of this here, and then they'll have, obviously, the rest of this information here is important, but developers will be like, how do we program this? Well, the language that they use, if you're a developer, you know about JavaScript, TypeScript, Python, Java, Go, Rust, and Net. That's what the same technologies for coding that the AI uses, that all the big institution uses. Stellar says they're ready. Now, as we finish this one out, conclusion and strategic outlook, okay? The on-chain evidence presented in this report supports a clear thesis. Stellar has evolved from a cross-border payments protocol, that's what we were all hyped about a few years ago, into an institutional-grade financial infrastructure. Infrastructure is the key word. Companies like NVIDIA was popping because it makes semiconductors, the infrastructure, the hardware for the systems, okay? That's where Stellar is at. Supporting settlement, tokenized assets, and programmable compliance. Catalyst for institutional adoption, regulatory landscape, the MiCA in Europe, evolving U.S. stablecoin legislation. You have Stellar smart contract ecosystem maturation. Remember, they didn't really have smart contracts like that. They have upgraded their system. Government adoption, RWA secondary market. And again, stablecoin settlement, treasury and yield, compliance, real-world assets, and developer platforms. And then here's all the sources and the contributors of the people who did the study. Now, y'all, tell me what you think about that. Tell me what you think about that. Put XLM in the chat if you think that document that I just showed you guys about tokenization and all that was fire.
Passive income, gold in my dental. Thank God for my mental. Investor fundamentals, told my girl it was simple.